Okay, hello everyone. I'm Kim Lacey and we're going to talk about crepe myrtles today. Crepe myrtles, you see them everywhere in yards and city landscapes, even growing wild in the woods. They're one of the easiest, toughest, drought-tolerant, versatile, and forgiving tree, shrub, ground cover we grow in Texas. They love full sun and from my experience grow in several different types of soil with little water or care, but they do prefer neutral or slightly acidic soil. I've taken crepe myrtles and transferred them that were already 5 foot tall and said, good luck. And they grew. They're still there. Okay. There are over 52 crepe myrtle varieties, and they come in so many sizes and beautiful, vibrant colors from different shades of white, pink, red, violet to purple, and range in height from 1 foot to 30 foot. That one's pretty. Like I said, they aren't just landscape ornaments in someone's yard. They grow in the woods, either a transplant by some clumsy bird or the remnants of a long-forgotten home site that they're just a ghostly reminder of. That makes me cry a little bit, so I'm sorry. They bloom all spring and summer, with some varieties blooming into the fall. So let's talk about the flower itself. Our English name crepe myrtle, and while we're at we talked about it a while ago about how you spell it. I tried and dug, like, okay, what's correct? There's not. I mean, because there's so many intelligent people like botanists that spell it one way and professors that spell it another way, and then some of them put it together as a word. So I gave up on that. Spell it however you want to. But our English name crepe myrtle, and that's with the A, is for the crinkly tissue-like petals and myrtle-type leaves. When you check out the flowers up close, they seem incredibly delicate. Each petal is the very definition of the botanical term clawed, which means the expanded surface of a petal attached to the flower by a linear strap of tissue that looks like a claw. Pretty cool. Although they are deciduous and shed their leaves in the late fall, the leaves do provide attractive fall colors of yellow to red in early fall. And the bark, or lack of, in the fall and winter, adds an interesting element to your landscape, ranging in shades of red, brown, to gray. That's really pretty. We actually have one species, the Basham's party pink. If I butchered that, it should be, I don't know if it's Bashams or Bashams, that's been given the honor of being a Texas superstar. It matures to 20 to 30 feet and grows really fast. So that's your go-to if you want to get here fast, and it's Texas superstar, so that means it's been tested, good to go. Now, Texas A&M Horticulture has an extensive list on their website titled Crepe Myrtles for Texas. It is very extensive. I wanted to print it and show it to y'all, but it would have been a small book because they have the pictures, and then they have like the names of it, and then the color, the height, and then the level of resistance. Some of y'all have probably seen this. It'll go from like a mild level to a good level, of resistance to mildew. And it also tells you if the plant has fall color or exfoliating bark. Now, this guy, the Tuscarora, has lush-colored, rose-colored flowers, silver-peeling bark, and fabulous fall color. It's hardy for zones 7 through 9, resists mildew, has great silvery fall color, and it's said to grow over 20 feet. It's one of the favorites of A&M's. So, now my man Neil Sperry, everybody knows Neil, right? Okay, he has a website also. Now he is in cahoots with, up in McKinney, they have a big crepe myrtle garden, and they have worked like, they put this out in 2020 after 23 years of research. And with the opinions, not just them, with the opinions of several national authorities, they helped develop a list of cold, heat, drought-tolerant, and pest-resistant varieties for Texas. Now, y'all's handout is the list. It's not all-inclusive, but these were the top point earners. And you may also notice that some of the more common varieties that we see around here are not listed here. So you just take it or leave it. I mean, it's everybody's version, what they like. This may be due to the fact they're fast growing and have short-term life terms. some of the ones that we get around here. So like, I'm not saying any names. Wholesalers like them because they can get them out of the nursery into the hands of retailers faster than they can with some of the ones that they rank more higher on this list. But Neil's opinion is that you ought to plant for long-term quality, not just for speed of growth. So, okay. Now here are the websites for the A&M. And y'all, that is a beautiful, beautiful little list, but it's big. And then there's Neil's list right here if y'all want to go look at those. They're really good. Does anybody need to write those down? I'll wait. Let's see what they're running. While you're writing those down, where did the crepe myrtle come from? Is it native to Texas? Is it native to the United States? Nope. The crepe myrtle that we're familiar with here actually originated in China. Lagostreamia indica, which is also called the common crepe myrtle. That's our fella right there. But there are also crepe myrtle varieties from other parts of the world not as widely known. The Japanese crepe myrtle, Lagostreamia forei, from central and southern Japan. And this species is distinctly tree-like, more cold hardy and resistant to fungus. There's also a variety called Lagostreamia speciosa, known as the queen crepe myrtle, giant crepe myrtle, and banaba, that originates in subtropical and tropical India. It's really only suitable for Florida, the southernmost part of Texas, South Louisiana, coastal Southern California, and Hawaii. There are also several other species in other parts of the country, but being true to the nature of the beast, a lot of species that we have around here, they're hybrids, they've been crossed. So that being said about your hybrid, if you want to do your research, if you're going to try to take and propagate it or save the seeds, if you have a hybrid, most of y'all know, you may not get what you started with. You may get mommy or daddy color. So if you just be careful if that's what you do with those seeds. Okay, so back to our common variety we're most familiar with. In China, Lagostreamia indica was named Pai Ji Hong, meaning 100 days red for its beautiful color and long bloom season. The Chinese also called it the monkey tree because monkeys supposedly can't climb the smooth, slippery trunks due to the lack of bark, supposedly. I thought they could climb anything. Okay, so like, this is the monkey's reaction to not being able to climb the tree. He was not happy. Okay, while it's documented that the crepe myrtle has been around for over 1,000 years, it's only been here in the US just over 150 years. It's documented that the crepe myrtle was originally brought to the United States by Carl Linnaeus, a Swedish biologist. There's a pic of old Carl. He's actually famous for devising, does anybody know him? I've read about him and he did a lot of stuff. He's famous for devising new systems for naming and grouping all living organisms as well as naming thousands of species. One article I read, he is said to be one of the smartest men that ever lived. So he named the crepe myrtle, Lagostreamia, after his friend, Swedish merchant Magnus von Lagerström. He was the director of the Swedish East India Company, and he supplied Carl with plants that he collected. So that's what I found, the best documentation I could find on how it got to the United States. Okay, so you decide you're going to plant crepe myrtles. The best time to plant crepe myrtles, or plants of any kind, y'all know, is spring or fall. First, you need to determine your site. The ideal planting site is in well-prepared, well-drained soil with full sun exposure and good air circulation. They can't tolerate standing in water due to being susceptible to root rot, and being planted in too rich soil can produce more foliage than flowers. So they are a little finicky, but they're really not. It's always a good idea to get your soil tested. We all know that, before investing a lot of money and time planting anything. Now, crepe myrtles planted in shade, don't plant a crepe myrtle in partial or full shade. I mean, you can, but it's just not going to have many flowers. It's just not going to give you a lot of flower. And they're also more susceptible to disease in the shade. They really like a lot of sun. After determining your site, you need to decide what variety and size you want. As I said earlier, crepe varieties can grow from 1 foot to 30 foot, so make sure you get the right height for your planting site. You don't want to have to murder your crepes because you planted a specimen that grows too tall for your selected site. Be sure to water your plant well prior to planting. Dig a hole 3 times the width of the root ball and only as deep as the top of the soil level in the pot. This is like basic 101 planting. Drop the potted plant into the hole to check your depth. Then fill the newly dug site with water. And because if you don't put the water in the hole, when you put the wet watered plant in there, all the dry surrounding it sucks it out. And then you could get your roots to dry out. And then, of course, backfill it and then pack it in and then mulch it and water it again. And you can go ahead and fertilize the outside of your hole that you dug. And I just use a balance. What does everybody else use for crepe myrtle? Unless you have already identified a problem with your soil. Or does anybody even fertilize them? Okay. Here she is watering. What's wrong with this picture? Can somebody tell me what's wrong with this picture? Good job. You win the prize. Yeah, that's the only one I could find somebody watering crepe myrtle. But yes, they're way too close. Can you see what they're going to do? I didn't have the picture of the eaves, but they're going to be leaning out like that. Yeah. When you water, I mean, I was going to say that in here, but when you water, just water early because it's going to cause problems if you water late in the evening. I mean, you can't control the rain, right, if it rains at night, but you can try to control what you do yourself. Newly planted crepe myrtles will need to be watered deeply every day for the first week and then 3 times a week for the following 6 weeks. And that's just new babies, not, all the time. But if planting in the summer or in a warm climate, expect to continue watering till the weather cools and the tree goes dormant. Once mature, though, a crepe myrtle is rather drought tolerant. In fact, once these trees are established, you won't even have to water them except when it gets really hot. I don't water mine. They look wonderful. But Danny does water the yard sometimes, so I guess that counts. Okay, so let's talk about diseases and pests. The first one we're going to talk about is the powdery mildew. It occurs more often on young or actively growing plants. It can completely cover and severely damage new plant growth. Older leaves are less likely to be affected, but are still susceptible in the right conditions. It has a powder-like appearance. It may dry up, twist, or curl, or even make your leaves fall off. Warm days and cool nights are a breeding ground for this fungus. Actually, the hotter the overall weather, the less likely the chance you're going to get powdery mildew. Side note, don't water at night or late in the evening. Damp foliage is breeding ground for fungus. There's another shot of it real close up. Nasty little stuff. So prevention is the best management. Organic management, do your research and buy powdery mildew resistant varieties. Remove affected leaves or branches and ensure good air circulation to suppress humidity levels. Natural fungicides such as neem oil extract and potassium bicarbonate are effective. However, using any chemical control at the wrong time can damage your plants, so be sure to read directions carefully. Next, our bark scale. These white scale-like insects are less than 1/8 of an inch long. They hide out on the bark and twigs, especially in bark furrows and crevices. When you squish them, they bleed pink, called hemolymph. When they feed, they produce honeydew, which is the leftover sugary solution from feeding on the plant sap. They usually appear on plants that are stressed or damaged. High infestation can result in black sooty mold on leaves, twigs, branches, trunks, and surfaces below. Now, you can introduce certain beneficial insects and certain plants to encourage these insects, such as ladybugs, to stay in the area once you've released them. But if that doesn't work and you get bark scale, what do? This is a picture of her eating some of those little devils. All right, so regularly removing, disposing of infested branches can help reduce the scale population. Be sure to dispose of all the branches properly to prevent the scales from spreading to other trees. Washing the trees are the most effective when the scales are in the crawler stage when you wash the trees. But if they get like really big, they're not going to come off real well. But you can power wash them. But you're probably going to lose a lot of your flowers and such. Oh. In severe infestations, chemical control may be necessary. Horticultural oils and insecticidal soaps in combination with bifenthrin spray can be effective. Systemic insecticides can also be used, however, they should be used as a last resort due to the potential impact of non-target organisms and pollinators. So who's gotten any of the bark scale or the powdery mildew on there? Does everybody have crepe myrtles? I do. Okay. Do y'all ever get any problems with them, or y'all are just aces on it? Yeah. Here's the one that I have problems with. This is mine, and I don't know why. I hate trying to say this. Cercospora. Did I say it right? Okay. It's the leaf spot fungus that's caused by sheltered areas where plants are close together or blocked from breezes and foliage, and they stay wet for long periods of time. But mine are out in the sun and there's no shade around them. And I get them on, it may be the species, so, because I don't even know what those are. But I bought them a long time ago. I didn't keep the tag, but they're still alive. But to control this stuff, you have to remove it. I started spraying ahead of time. I go ahead and spray a fungicide on it. I'm sorry, y'all naturalists. I spray a fungicide on it ahead of time, and now that my leaves are staying green and they don't turn yellow and fall off. But you can just go ahead and, when you start, you clean it off, try to knock everything off that's dead, and then try to clean it all up, and then start new. But if you've got the leaves still there, they're going to spread. It spreads. It's so easy that it's important that you be vigilant and raking it up and disposing of it. And that's a lot. I get it. That's a lot of work. Sometimes that year I'm just like, no, I'm done. I'll see y'all next year and we'll try again. Because it can spread to the other ones. I don't know if y'all have a lot. I've got like 4 in one area. But that's what I do. I just try to stay ahead of the curve. All right, some insects we got to watch for. Now, these are not all inclusive, y'all. This is just some of them hit on. But this is the stinging. No, let's see. That was another picture of those. That's the stinging pus caterpillar. They stand so nasty. It looks like a tiny little toupee working its way across the leaves. They mind their own business, but they're very toxic if touched. They don't really sting you, but their back is full of barbs that have poison on them, and they're toxic to you. And they can give you a really serious reaction. My daughter was stung by one when she was little. I think she was like right at kindergarten stage. We were at the lake, and she was putting on a life vest, and she started screaming. And I'm like, what's wrong? What's wrong? What's wrong? And we found one, on her back, where it'd come off when she took the life jacket off. I think this was him right here. We call them asp here. Is what there's a big family, but they're all stinging pus caterpillars. But that's the one that we see mostly around here. I don't know. Yeah, I think that was him. All right, now we have the Japanese beetle. I don't see any of these. Has anybody seen any of them? They can be damaging both, because this is why we may not see them. They damage the roots and the foliage, so they may stay low. The larvae live in the ground and munch on new roots, and the adults make quick work of leaves, leaving only the veins behind. All right, then next up in the party is the crepe myrtle aphids. The crepe myrtle aphid is the only aphid that feeds on myrtles, and it shows up during the summer to suck the sap from new growth. They leave behind a sticky mess that causes sooty mold to grow. So aside from the damage that they cause to leaves by the way of draining the nutrients, their excrement is a serious issue. These small yellow-green insects like to congregate on the underside of leaves. The younger the leaves, the better, as the flesh is thinner and easier to pierce. Power wash them, treat them organically if you can. But that's kind of what they look like underneath there. I've never seen any on mine, but I've seen them at work. All right, sooty mold. Sooty mold is the resulting issue caused by the honeydew excretion by certain insects. That's right, bug poop. That is bug poop. This dark moldy substance interferes with photosynthesis, which leads to overall poor health for the plant. It's a pretty big hassle when this mold is all over the plant, so catching it and eliminating the issue early is important. This fungal disease stunts growth and can harm flower development. It also usually won't kill the plant unless it has some other issues, but it sure makes it ugly to look at. Planting in full sun and not overcrowding seems to help keep them at bay. Keep this at bay, they're not them. But in the event you've been gifted this, you can wash it off by applying a mixture of Dawn and water. I think it's like 4 ounces to a gallon, is that right? And put it on there, let it sit for a little bit, and then rinse it off. And that should clean it up. Okay, now let's talk about the elephant in the room. Crape myrtle. I feel like everyone here knows what crape myrtle is. It's a pruning method where the top of the crape myrtle is chopped off entirely with a horrific chainsaw usually. I'm not going to judge anyone who does this because there's different reasons why people do it. I'll just say this, it damages the structural integrity of the plant and therefore the strength of the tree. You have these strong older trunks and possibly branches and new shoots that grow and are weak and limp. The most common reason for this crime is the fact that too large a variety was planted in the area where it was planted. And it's having to be cut back because it's grown up under the eaves and or blocking a window or whatnot. So be careful when you plant a crape myrtle and know what you're getting. Then it's not too tall for what you want. So once again, do your homework. Don't be a crape myrtle and have these skeletons in your yard. Now, proper pruning only consists of removing any dead, damaged, deformed, or crossed branches. Crape myrtles bloom on new wood, so pruning in the winter or early spring when there's no chance of a frost will promote prolific blooming. She okay? Okay. So this to me is I like that. I mean, some people, I don't have mine to where there's, sorry, Bill. I don't have mine to where there's like 1 to 3. I like mine bigger like that. But a lot of people want it more of a tree shape. I want mine somewhere in between. So if you're trying to establish your plant in a tree form, it's important to prune all but 1 or 3 trunks off to establish a leader. You need to do this when they're young because if you start doing it when they're that size, I'm like, oh, I'm going to have to look different. You're going to really stress the plant out. New suckers at the base of the tree should be removed flush with the trunk. They're, you know where they show up, right down here. If you don't cut them off flush with the trunk, they're just going to grow right back. Some more might grow back, but they won't grow back in that spot. And you can also spray the cut area with sucker punch or sucker stopper to prevent or slow down the regrowth. Okay, my final thoughts are crape myrtles are popular for many excellent reasons. Between their attractive peeling bark, their gorgeous flowers, and their seasonal foliage interests, they make truly wonderful additions to the landscape for 3 seasons. In winter, they are unspectacular, but they more than make up for it throughout the rest of the year. Their disease resistance and general hardiness make them wonderful, long-lasting, and attractive garden residents. All right, what do y'all want to talk about?
Color. Make a difference in winter.
I did not see anything in my research. But the blooms, I mean, like you said, I'm going to go with try some of what Neil, because they did 23 years worth of research in Texas. And I'm going to try some of those. And a lot of the ones that are sold around here are not on that list. They may be, don't have long lives. So.
You know, Bubba's has any of these.
Who? Neil, let's see. I don't know. I'm coming back. I know. Pokimoki, I think. Tonto, I remember that one. Zuni. Dynamite for sure. Dynamite's a big winner. Tuskegee, Appalachia, Catawba, Powhatan, Red Rocket for sure. Yeah, and the Biloxi, Kiowa. Yeah, a bunch of those. Okay. Anybody else? This table.
You were talking about propagating.
Oh, yeah.
Can you do something?
Yes, I did read that I did not go into that, but I did read that you can propagate, that they do produce roots pretty quick. So.
With that, like you were saying with the seeds, you might get mom or dad if it's a hybrid.
If it's a hybrid, so do your research.
If you get,
Study will give you exactly what the plant
you'll
is.
get a hybrid. Okay. It's not like some of those.
Yes, the seeds. Yeah.
These trees that have the rootstock that's one thing and then they're grafted to something else.
Right.
If you do a cutting from a Crape Myrtles, you will get the color of the hybrid.
Yes.
Yeah, but and I had a funny thing. Some of those that I have, they were just as red could be, and then the next 2 years, white starts coming on them. But it was the same tree. I do not know what I did.
We were in Houston, we had some of the pink fuchsia, and our neighbor had some white ones, just in the next yard over.
Yeah, there's not any close.
I wonder if.
I think that these are hybrids, and they started coming out. Yes, their true colors are showing. So. Okay, anybody else? Y'all are just so inquisitive. Okay, well, thank y'all so much. Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. Share stories.
Now, where there was an old house, know that Crape Myrtle has been there over, and it is still there. Every summer we go by to the old house place, plantation. The Crape Myrtle.
Let's see it.
That is the Crinums.
Oh, the Grinums.
Crinums and the Crape Myrtle. It was every summer.
Thomas?
What is the attraction for the cover ends? They strip by like one every year.
Maybe all that bug poop and the flowers.
You go out there in the morning, they're naked.
They're naked.
Trash all over the ground.
Aw. Yeah, I think they don't care. They just hack everything. Can you give me two? Oh, yeah. David said it's the leaves they want. Anybody else have any stories? What? The bug poop. The sooty mold. Oh, you're my dilemma. Yeah. Yeah, I just like I said, I cut it off at the pass and I go ahead and spray fungicide early, and because I don't want to look at yellow leaves. Sorry. Okay. Does anybody else got a story? Carol. Treatment on the trunk. Power wash it off with the soap. But you can try first. Make sure and check your settings on your power wash.